Remember, don't like, share, or subscribe. What are you trying to do? Blow up the channel or something? I got enough on my plate. And welcome back to Flatline. I hope you're enjoying success and health, wealth, and happiness. All's good over here. First, I want to apologize. I was off for about a week or so, not really uploading regular content. I got a business to run too over here, you know? And sometimes I'm inundated with responsibility. And of course, I always do these kinds of castings because I want to have my finger on the pulse of political and social psychology, especially as it relates to our world and culture. So I often do this for fun and, of course, to exchange commentary and ideas with other interested minds, even those minds that disagree. So, as always, whatever gives me great political and social commentary in order to discuss my various thoughts and ideas and how it affects our world at large. And they're touching on some great things in this episode. What men want, essentially. And Brian and Andrew are trying to explain that to these women that just don't seem to understand what it is that men want. Feed us, do us, shut the hell up. Real simple. Doesn't mean that you have to be an indentured servant. It just means you need to be a cooperative, submissive partner. So let's get into it. On this episode of Flatline, let's get busy.
Like, I want to make enough money so my girl doesn't have to work.
See, that's kind
So,
of sweet.
but what is the reason for why wouldn't you want someone to have like their own stance on something? Like, why would you want someone not to be argumentative?
Because
like, what is that?
a lot of men, and especially with my work, so my work's very challenging. I'm not even just talking about the podcast. Most of the stress related to this show is actually stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Andrew can actually attest to this. Recently, we're not going to talk about it, but there's always bogus nonsense going on behind the scenes. Andrew, do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, just like major headache stuff. And so I'm already out in the world trying to combat with the world through my career, through my job. I don't want to have to contend with my partner. I want my partner to be peace, to bring me peace. And actually, like, I don't want to like get into debates and argue with girls, even though it's kind of like what I do on this podcast. If I'm dating somebody, I'm not arguing. I just want it to be chill. I don't like to argue any of that stuff.
But who's conceding then? Because I feel like someone's compromising then in that situation.
Yeah, that's well, so I actually will agree with you here and give you an olive branch. I do think that there would be a concession, and that is submission of the woman.
I think that when women hear the word submit, it makes them feel like they are lesser than or don't have such a great weight or role in a relationship with a man. But they don't want to be at the seat of power in the relationship. They want a man who's more dominant, as evidenced very simply by they want a guy who's 6 feet tall, who makes six figures with a six-pack. Don't those things all suggest dominance? So it's real simple. My wife tends to be a very submissive woman. She runs our business operation. I actually don't get in her lane. I don't get in her way. I let her make command decisions. I'm always there in the background to back her up on any of those decisions. But ultimately, the decision of the company, where it's going, what has to be done with it, marketing, branding, identity, financing, all that stuff, ultimately comes down to one person, and that is the chief decision maker. There are not two pilots of an airplane. There is one, the pilot and co-pilot. And sometimes it is my aircraft co-pilot. But in a marriage, there has to be the submission of one person. And typically, traditionally, that is the woman submitting to the leadership of the man. And those women that don't submit to that, they want to know why J.D. Vance calls them cat women, lonely cat women.
That's where I disagree then.
Yeah, what's wrong with a woman submitting to a man?
I just don't, like, I understand, like, there can be scenarios, like, there are scenarios, like, you know, intimacy and stuff like that. There are scenarios where, like, that can be a thing, but, like, I don't know why, like, it wouldn't be valued, like, an opinion on, like, say, like you said, like, a debater on something, like what fruit is, like, I don't know, you can't really debate on fruit because that's, like, objective, but, like,
Can I
something
add a
that is
comment?
subjective.
Brian's,
Yeah,
Brian's
but
just
even a
gonna-
thing which is subjective. So from the context that I'm looking at it at, I don't believe that there's any two consciousness which exist. Consciousnesses. It's a joke. Kidding.
Don't get that.
Trying to lighten the mood. I don't think that there's ever going to be two people who come into contact where one doesn't ultimately end up dominating the other to some degree. I don't even believe that that's possible.
On record, I want to say that this was actually a very thoughtful conversation. I felt like even this gal is trying to learn, trying to understand, trying to come to some type of a realization with Andrew. There always has to be somebody that's in charge, that's responsible. Ultimately, they're going to get to that in this conversation. And I use myself as somebody who is in a 17-year successful relationship, 2 years, that was 3 years developing as a friendship into our relationship. Ultimately, she gave me command and control of our lives. And I say to her, yeah, babe, how did that turn out for you? I paid off $100,000 in your credit cards. I got you to an 850 credit score. You have no debt. I built you a brand new house. I bought you cars. You have 6 funds through Schwab, all with your name on it. You're a millionaire when I drop dead, and I handle everything. I fix your cars. You got money in the bank, cash in your pocket. What more do you have to worry about in this world? She goes, I know.